A very warm good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, viewers. I'm Matthias Aufiku, news editor of the Namibian Sun newspaper. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Evening Review Show. Before we hop into tonight's discussion, let's go for a short break and we'll be back to take it away. Well, we're joined in studio tonight by Advocate Basilius Dyakugha, the Ombudsman of the Republic. Good evening, sir, and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Well, your office has been quite busy the past few days. Of course, what transpired southwards of our border, the robbery at the South African President's farm, President Ramaphosa. There's been a lot of links to Namibia as well. And one of the parties in our parliament has actually filed a complaint with your office asking you to investigate the Namibian president, President Hage Geingob, for his alleged involvement in the events surrounding this robbery. Of course, the Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters want you to step in there and investigate what actually transpired there. Can you tell us about the work your office has done so far in this regard, leading to the press conference earlier today?
Okay, thank you for the question. Yes, indeed, it's true that the Economic Freedom Fighters of Namibia laid the complaints to my office last week on the 8th of June. But it was not the only case that kept the office busy. Of course, it was a profile case. As you know, the way they also submitted it, they went and made a press conference thereafter. So we also treated it special, and I paid personally much attention to the complaint. In fact, in terms of the Ombudsman's Act, I have to determine the nature of the complaint to see whether it falls within my mandate before I could instruct my investigators to actually take the actual investigation into the complaint. And here I have to give it a few days to study the complaint itself. It was quite a thick document, but the actual explanation was 2-page. The rest were just annexes. And then I decided that, this morning I will pronounce myself about the position, whether I'm going to investigate or not. And that's what I did this morning. I said, I can't investigate because it doesn't fall under my mandate, because it appears from the nature of the complaint itself that it is purely criminal allegations that they are alleging in the complaint.
Okay. So how was this received when you made this announcement earlier on?
Well, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I was just outlining the laws. As you know that in this country we have various institutions that has been assigned with a different mandate in terms of the Constitution and other Act of Parliament. So that's what I did. Whether the complainant took it differently, that's up to them. Because you see, in terms of my mandate, I have also to maintain confidentiality. So that aspect, I engaged them after the press conference so that I can explain to them how I arrived at my decision. So I can confidently say that at least through my engagement with them after the conference, the press conference, they somehow understood that I don't have that mandate to investigate the complaint as it was put to me in their complaint originally.
Yeah.
It is stand now. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you call the thick document? So out of that document, you mean to say that none of the elements within that complaint fell within the jurisdiction of your office?
If you dissect the language that were in the document, you may find that indeed there are elements of maladministration, but they did not focus more on maladministration in their request. If you look at the heading of their complaint,
yeah,
it does speak to unlawful conduct, concealing the act of money laundering, theft of money. These are language in criminal justice system. And then their actually request also, I summarize it in my statement that it allege issues of conniving with officials, immigration officials, and talking about, you know, all these allegations is really not administrative in nature, but they are criminal in nature. So, if you can, if you want to narrow it, the immigration officials' conduct, then you have to allege administrative maladministration in terms of their failure to execute their duties. But you needed to provide then relevant issues as what actually they're supposed to do in terms of the Immigration Act, which they did not do. So it is missing in their and the president doesn't do immigration law. He doesn't actually execute or supervise the immigration officials. So that's actually what I looked at. And mind you, I don't assist complainant as how they should actually phrase their complaint. I take it from face value. Only after I go through the complaint itself for me to make a determination, I will somehow give what I will call friendly advice. This is not a legal opinion. It's just a friendly advice that if you wanted me to actually accept your complaint, you should have done A, B, C, D. So if you still have those evidence or those proof, you can go and amend it, and probably I will look at it again. This is basically what I told to the complainant.
Did you give them friendly advice today?
I did give them friendly advice. But that is confidentiality, because I can't divulge it now with you. You can get it from them, because that's actually to maintain my impartiality and my independence.
Yeah. Another aspect of the complaint, and of course I'm sure the affidavit of Mr. Fraser was one of the annexures to the submission that was made by NEFF to your office, was that a certain highly placed policeman from South Africa was sent to come to Namibia past immigration controls without any checks in and out. So, you knowing that, does that then not put your office on alert to investigate the immigration affairs of the country? Or is it a thing of it wasn't part of the submission, so we will not look at it?
Very good question. Indeed, they attached Mr. Fraser's affidavit, but I also highlighted it in my in my statement this morning, and I said that this statement was meant for South African justice system, or the complaint that Mr. Fraser raised against the President of South Africa. So it is not really directed to my authority or to Namibian authority for that matter.
But Namibia is affected here.
It is also a sovereign state. The document was drafted in a different country. An ombudsman's mandate is within the borders of Namibia.
Yeah.
So it will be very, very, very difficult for me really to use a document that were crafted by South African, which is difficult for me to assess because I will not find Mr. Fraser here to interview him or for me to determine what exactly is he's talking about. That's the investigation aspect that we are talking about now. Yeah. If you want to go into detail, so you have to find Mr. Fraser and try to engage him on the document that he authors. That's why I did not regard it important, Mr. Fraser's affidavit, because it is not meant for Namibia and is not a Namibian citizen. So it is definitely outside my jurisdiction to look at that document.
But in that affidavit, as much as you say it's a South African for that jurisdiction, there were dates mentioned there by Mr. Fraser to say Mr. X came into the country this date, he left this date. So would it then the onus not be on your office to say, Home Affairs, can you give us the stats or the records of this border post? Did this person cross here? Was he processed and so on?
Indeed.
But before you answer that, let's just go for a short break and we'll continue this conversation. To our viewers, we'll just go for a short break and we'll be back for a second half. Just stay tuned. Well, welcome back to our viewers, to our very interesting discussion tonight. Advocate Dyakugha, we were discussing the issue of how your office should at times perhaps take the onus into confidence of your office to say, of course, the complainant did not highlight this aspect, but this aspect surely falls within the jurisdiction of Namibia. Because if someone can walk in and out of the country as they want, it can happen tomorrow again.
I agree with you. That's why I'm saying we gave a friendly advice to the complainant. Because when it comes to violation of immigration laws, you may find that there might be two components there. Criminal aspect for those individuals who cross into Namibia or from Namibia to South Africa. If you don't really follow the immigration law, you may be criminally charged. But then when it comes to those officials who must now execute immigration law in terms of our law, they may be charged administratively. Yeah. But as an ombudsman, I cannot really assist the complainant as how you should actually craft your complaint. Because I have to look at the face value as you submitted it to me. Yeah. For me now to go and amend your own complaint, it will be unethical for me now to get to that arena. Because my role is really to look at what are you actually complaining about. Probably that is your understanding, that you want, what is concerning you. So what I'm thinking is probably not what you want. Yeah. It's not what is bothering you. So on that ground, we sit with the complainant and then we give them friendly advice. Yeah.
So what you are saying then is that your office cannot initiate investigations?
We can initiate investigation on our own motion, but only when we have very overwhelming prima facie case, possible through a whistleblower providing us with evidence, either oral statement or documentary proof. We can do that. But in this case, none.
Yeah. Yeah. So someone entering the borders of Namibia unprocessed, it also doesn't warrant your office to even consider such an investigation, even to consult the immigration department?
Well, We are not so sure whether that is the case in this particular case, because we don't have any proof to that effect. Because that, like I said, if a Namibian citizen could have brought us, like Fraser did in South Africa, we could have looked into that. But zoom it into administrative failure of our immigration officials. Yeah. But not on a criminal aspect, yes. Because criminal aspect, obviously, as you may know, that is the area for other institutions. Yeah. Yeah, we could have looked into that also. Okay. If someone, if there was another Fraser in Namibia. Yeah.
Yeah. In your statement earlier today, you mentioned that under normal circumstances, the Ombudsman should be one of the last defense available to citizens against the bureaucratic processes and malfeasance in the public offices. Can you break that down?
Yeah, in fact, you know, Article 18 of the Namibian Constitution gives citizens the right to challenge government decisions. You know, citizens have voted for this government into offices. So they also have the right to complain to them when they are not delivering services. So in our setup in the government, every ministry has a grievance procedures that citizens can follow when they are not happy with the service delivery. And that you have to respect it, because some of the line ministries and the service delivery, let's take for example like liquor license. If you want to apply for liquor license, there is a process where you apply, and if your license is not issued, you appeal to the liquor board. You know, that process is there. So many of those examples are there, even in the land issue. There is a land board process. So those are the structures that are in place. So people must exhaust those internal processes before you can then say, no, I have hit the wall and they are not helping me. But I still feel that they are just not fair in their process of handling my matter. That's the time you can now think of other options that the Namibians have. They have many options. You may go to court, you may come to the Ombudsman's office. Yeah, but we like I said, these things happened on a case-by-case basis. So we treat cases on its own merit. So not all cases we look into whether you have followed the internal processes. Sometimes we just accept, even though you did not follow your internal process. Sometimes there is no internal processes in some cases. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So why did you see the need to include this specific paragraph into your statement today?
I put it there. I think you highlighted it and you say you wanted me to break it down.
Yeah. Well, I'm asking, in hindsight now, how you broke it down. Can one read into it that you are saying that perhaps the complainant in this case did not exhaust all the measures they could have? Is that what you are saying?
Well, I think I used this opportunity also to share very important information with the general public, but not necessarily referring to this particular case. So as you know that this complaint was laid by a very important members of our society, parliamentarians for that matter. So I think I'm not so comfortable to teach them the procedures of how to lay a complaint at the office of the Ombudsman, because as parliamentarians, I think they're supposed to know better. But nonetheless, I put that statement there just to share with the general public the procedures in my office.
Yeah, but would you then say there were perhaps other avenues they could have looked at before knocking on the Ombudsman's door? And what could those possibly be? Maybe just for the benefit of the public also, who might find them in this similar situation tomorrow.
Yeah, I think, as you may know, this case is a very high-profile case. When you want to complain against the sitting head of state, I think you have to really zoom into using all your resources. If you have heavy calibers or ammunition, you must also invoke on them to assist you. My view is that they should have actually engaged their lawyers seriously to see whether the route they took was the best route. I'm not saying they did not engage their lawyers, but I think by look of things, their lawyers should have really picked it up that the whole document is really allegations of criminal such, allegations that they are making. It should have been broken down into criminal and civil or administrative aspect. Yeah. So yeah, that's my view. I think they did not hold their horses, and I think in the future they should actually take my friendly advice that in matters of this nature, you shouldn't really rush into issues. Yeah.
You've also mentioned that the complaint does not allege a violation of human rights. Neither did it mention anything related to the environment. You went on to say that the statement of Mr. Fraser that's attached raises elements of bad or dishonest management on border control. With reference to Ms. General Rhoda traveling to Namibia, and it has not been legally processed at border control. But you say this is not, it doesn't fall under your office.
Yeah, I already answered that.
Yeah, you already answered it. Yeah. And at the very beginning of your statement, you indicated that investigating violations of human rights is one of the mandates of your office.
Yes.
So if you have a complaint where it's alleged that a Namibian citizen was, so to say, kidnapped by someone who came into the country without being processed, and you still feel there's no violation of human rights?
Yeah, you see, there are two issues always in some matters, particularly when you violate someone's human rights. You may be charged with for criminal offense, and you may also be sued for civil damages. This is basically what criminal, violation of human rights is concerned. Now, cross-border crime is very tricky. In this case, kidnapping is a very serious crime internationally and also in our laws. So it cannot then just ignore the criminal aspect, which is actually the most serious element of it. And then you want just to zoom into the aspect where the ombudsman should investigate the violation of human rights. So it doesn't really, I can't take it well with a complainant who ignored the first serious component of it. So in my view, you should first go to the institutions that will investigate the element of criminality, and only thereafter we will then come in and zoom in on the human rights violation, so that this particular individual can benefit from the violations of his human rights or dignity then in the process.
Okay. Advocate Dyakugha, thank you very much for your time tonight. It was a pleasure having you on our show.
You're always welcome.
Thank you. To our viewers, that's it for tonight. Have a pleasant evening.